So you've learned the basics of what research is, and you've learned about what empiricism is. So let's take a look at what research looks like and different types of research. First up, let's think about what research is in practice. We've got three different types of research here for you. On the left, you've got basic research. Basic research is that which is done to try and just understand how things work. Usually, basic research is performed in a laboratory environment where you single out, you get rid of everything that is not particular to your theories and hypotheses, so you can test very specific information. An example of a basic research question would be, what parts of the brain are active when experienced meditators are meditating? You can see that we have a monk guy in a laboratory, and we've hooked him up to an EEG to figure out what parts of the brain are active. Now, the thing about basic research or theoretical research is that it's not necessarily perfect. Yes, we are singling out a single bit of information that we can try and understand, but in the real world, there is no such thing as a person meditating with nothing else happening at all. So, another type of research that we could have is applied research. Applied research is all about understanding, well, how do things work in the real world? An example of that would be, has our school's new meditation program helped students focus longer on their math lessons? And so if you think that meditation is good for learning, and maybe you have students trying meditation, and does that actually affect their math scores? Now, because this applied research can be really complicated and there can be so many different factors involved there's also translational research, which really is just somewhere in between. So for example, in a laboratory study, can meditation lessons improve college students' GRE scores? So there's research that's kind of in between basic and applied research. There's no necessarily perfect example of something that is basic versus translational versus applied, but you can imagine that from basic to applied research, you get closer and closer to a real life example. When you are trying to figure out how something works on your own, you may avoid having complications mess up your understanding of the world by taking it into like a workspace and trying it out by itself. And that's why you would perform basic research, but after you're done with that, you want to make sure it works in the real world. So that's why you would do translational or applied research. Okay, two more kinds of research here are quantitative and qualitative methods. So quantitative research is all about gathering numbers and data and trying to understand how things work based off experiments, whereas qualitative methods are more about trying to gather not necessarily surveys, but interviews and following people around and trying to understand how things work in the real world. Qualitative methods are definitely going to be more applied, and quantitative are definitely going to be more basic, but you can have quantitative and qualitative in either place. In psychology, we do a lot of quantitative research, but sciences such as sociology are going to do a lot more qualitative research just because that's kind of the method that they have used historically, and it gets closer to what they're trying to understand, stories about specific people. There's nothing better or worse about quantitative or qualitative methods, but they do have different results. Quantitative research is going to be a little bit more empirical than qualitative methods, but qualitative methods are going to give you more overarching ideas. A good way to think about it is that you may use qualitative methods in your own life, thinking about yourself and your own experiences, asking other people about their experiences, but you may then use that to come up with theories that you test with quantitative research. Okay, so one more thing that we need to know before we finish out this chapter. Uh, when scientists do research, they publish their research in journals. These are academic journals where other scientists look at research that has been written out, think about whether it's empirical, whether it's well done, what problems the research might have. And that process is called the peer review process. It's kind of scary for researchers because if your peers tell you that your research sucks, you kind of need to go back to the drawing board. But if it's well done, it's rigorous and empirical, then your stuff gets published in journals. Once research is published in journals, people may take a large bunch of research and turn it into a review. The point of a review is kind of like a summary of a bunch of different journal articles on the same topic. You may also get research popping up in news articles or blog posts. Here's where things get a little bit fishy. You can't always trust research presented in the news or in blogs because it has not necessarily been peer reviewed. A lot of times a blog will take a bit of research and then talk about it. But they may not have read the research entirely, they may not have understood it, or they may be putting a lot of personal information in there that's not necessarily empirically defined. Textbooks are an interesting case for research because most textbooks will be based on research, but some won't. Some will just be based off of what the person writing it thinks. Now, that doesn't mean that they're totally completely wrong, but remember, science is all about being accountable, being skeptical and accountable for what you think. So a good textbook will have references to journal articles. And even in those cases, you might want to be careful because a person has just chosen which articles they want to put in there. That doesn't necessarily mean that they've chosen articles that are wrong, but you can curate a textbook to tell you, a sort of story that fits with your narrative. So you want to be careful on where you get your textbooks from. And I can tell you that part of the reason I avoid using textbooks in the classes that I teach is because I want to choose what things I believe make sense for your students to learn and which things don't make sense at all. So, like I said, scientific journalism, research presented in news and blog posts can be wrong. For example, I'm sure you've seen at some point that chocolate is good for you or it's good for losing weight. The thing is that a lot of that research is done by chocolate companies. And so even if chocolate could have some positive aspects, it's not as if going on a chocolate diet is going to help you lose weight or get healthier. That's crazy, right? Well, some places may make you believe that. And it's really easy to find information like this that can lead you down erroneous paths. So a big part of this class is going to be trying to help you be a smart consumer of research and avoiding those mistakes. Okay, so last couple things I have for this module, I've got a video here that can help you, think about that idea that research journalism, it might not be so great, so rigorous. I really encourage you to watch this video. I may have a activity based on this video if it makes sense for me. The last things I'm always going to include in these PowerPoints are a list of the vocabulary terms in that PowerPoint to make it easy for you to complete the vocabulary assignment for each module. Remember, you're going to need to write out the vocabulary in your own words with a pencil or pen. Take a picture of it, upload it. And I'm always going to try and include extra information. You'll notice that I've had notes telling you to kind of go back to the end of the slides and pick some up. Some of these things are going to be research papers that you can check out on your own. Some are going to be more information. So this is logical fallacies. A very important part of building an argument and defending your ideas is logic. I'm also going to have YouTube videos and more information. If you'd like to learn more on your own and you'd like to check out that stuff on your own, feel free to just pick whatever things are interesting. This stuff at the end is totally just for you. It's not mandatory, just extra for fun or for your own furthering of knowledge. So I hope you found this first module interesting. Make sure you complete the activities for this first module. They shouldn't be too extensive or complicated. And I hope you have a wonderful week. Take it easy, y'all, and I hope you've enjoyed what I've got to give you. Looking forward to spending lots of good educational time with you guys this semester. Ciao.